The price of a ticket today is €10. When I visited the fortress the first time, it was 10 kroner. Not as luxury as we are used to it today, but I guess it did the job. Here, I will show you.
Oh, thank you so much.
I'm quite excited. Today I'm going to show you a fortress which is located 11 kilometers outside of Split. It's called the Cleese Fortress, and it's basically located between the mountains Koshak and Mosar. When we get up to the fortress, you will see why the position of the fortress is extremely good.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Maybe while we're so excited about Game of Thrones, Panorama, Game of Thrones, Groschen Castle, please.
Thank you. Maybe when we come down. So when we get up here, you're gonna see why the fortress has been very important in prior days. So the whole plain you see here in front of me is the Cleese plain. You have Salona down to the water, and further out you have Split. So basically the ones who had control of this fortress basically controlled this whole area below, and which is why it was so important to simply conquer this part. And that's also why it has historically been scenes of many battles. The last one being the Ottomans and the Venetians fighting fiercely over it in the 17th century. So it's not 100% clear when the fortress was actually built, but it's assumed that the first structures of the fortress was made in the 2nd or the 3rd century before Christ. And one thing which they have documented is that in this area, in certain caves, there was people living here in the early Stone Ages. So we're talking many years back, so quite fascinating. Of course, all the land below was extremely fertile, which was also another reason why it was important to control this area. It was basically an eating chamber for the Romans, for whoever controlled this later on. They grew a lot of food down in the Cleese Salona plain, so all makes sense. So now we are going to go in the first entrance, which is also where we're going to buy our tickets. And the price of a ticket today is €10. When I visited the fortress the first time, it was 10 kroner. So just, there's been a bit of inflation since then.
So no changes in numbers.
No, but the good thing is because of all these people coming to the fortress today and the additional income the city has, now they have much more money to put into the restoration and keeping the palace. So it's actually quite a good thing. So I'm more than happy contributing to this. And also a new thing I will show you when we get the tickets. Thank you. So I will just show you when we get over here. I don't know if you see on the ticket, but you have the entrance to the Cleese Fortress on this side. He ripped off already the ticket down here. But nowadays the ticket includes a second ticket, which is for the Olive Museum, which is located about 2 kilometers from here, and we're going to see that later on today. Well, this is something they made new, a bronze sculpture. Very nice. And this kind of gives you an idea how narrow the fortress actually is, just resting on top of the cliff. So if the one trying to conquer the fortress, if they succeeded getting down the first door or the first gate, this was the second one to take. And again, you know, you see structures above, would have been a hard challenge.
Okay.
And the highest point of the fortress to the west, also, I mean, really amazing view, just overlooking Split, Salona. I mean, it's fascinating to think about. Now you see all these houses, you see the big city Split. You know, how this area would have evolved over the years. How visible would Salona actually have been when you were standing up here? Interesting. And you can actually see the islands. Probably it's very hard to see on the camera, but basically you can see Island Chiovo, first to the right. Then you have Island Scholta, you have Island Braj, and behind it you have Island Var, and I think maybe all the way out there it's Island Vis we can see. So 5 islands. So I wonder back in the days if they were doing the same as you would see in movies like Lord of the Rings, where they had these big fires or wood stacks on the top of the mountains which they could lit, and basically by that way they could signal to other parts of the realm that something bad was happening. I think this place, you know, was the main outlook to see if somebody was closing up on the area from the inland. And you see the structure, the mountain structure here. So basically, they were basically any army coming, they were forced to go this way, which was why it was just so important. No, so when you saw with how strategically the fortress is positioned, there's no wonder that this was referred to, or somebody would call it the gate to Dalmatia, and others would say that it was the heart of the medieval Croatian kingdom. So let's continue this way here. Now we're getting to the most interesting part of the fortress. Also the part where you can see from here a lot of the stuff has been renovated in recent years. So I'm quite excited to go there, because last time I was here all of this was under construction. So please follow me. So as you can see here on the sign, it says the third entrance. So basically this was the third fortification structure which anybody attacking the fortress would have to pass. So we saw entrance 1, entrance 2. You might have conquered that, but you still need to get to the third one also. And this part which is behind this entrance is the most important part of the fortress. So we're going to have a look at that one in a second. I just want to show you over here. So you see, you have here, down here on this side, where we came in, this was the first part, the first defensive line and the first gate to the fortress. Here you had the second one, and you had these parts. The red area is accessible from the first entrance, then you have to pass the second entrance to get into the gray area, and everything which you see is blue up here is behind the third entrance. So let's go have a look at it. But it did such an amazing work with renovating all this. So here we have a side tower, whatever that means. I wonder why they added the windows this low. I mean, it would not be the most comfortable position to sit in for a long time. I mean, maybe it could be in later stages, maybe for cannons.
They're just not as tall as...
But kind of you would not be able to see where you're actually shooting at, if that was the case. So in here we have the armory. I know there should be an exhibition of uniforms and artifacts from Uskok, which was Uskok was basically a type of Croatian elite military, and also in times it was kind of guerrilla warriors, you could say. So because the word Uskok basically means those who jump or those who ambush you. So they were well known for surprise attacks and these kind of things. And then after attacking, retreat and hiding. But I'll just have a look if there's space in there. Okay. The guy just said we have to continue. So we'll do that. But the building here was basically, back in the days, it was the armory, and the last version of it was partly constructed by the Austrians. And out here we have the training grounds. If you see down here at the end, you see you can train with a bow here, maybe also later with rifles, to see if you're able to hit anything. And in here we had a very important room, old powder magazine. There's a newer one we'll see later. So probably you shouldn't smoke in here at that time. Wow. And anybody can guess where the dragons are from? So here actually on the wall you have some images from when they recorded Game of Thrones here. You can probably recognize where we walked. And here's when they crucified, when Khaleesi crucified the Grandmasters after she took over the city. Yeah, and by the way, I need to tell you a funny story about this. No, I was kind of not used to this with the filming around Split. It was new to me, so one of the parents from my daughter's school, he told me that he has been an extra, a walk-on in the movie, which was recorded just outside of Split, and I didn't think much about it until Game of Thrones aired, and then it was clear, you know, he was actually one of those taking part of the recording there. A small thing I want to show you, there was a well here, but also lots of people ask me when we see older things, if there's toilets, and they basically save your toilet from the medieval days. Not as luxury as we are used to it today, but I guess it did the job. Also, this would actually keep attackers away from going this way up, I would assume. No, but last time I heard there was lots of parts I couldn't access simply because it was they were building everywhere or reconstructing everywhere. Let's see if we can skip the crowds here. We're just gonna head up here until the crowds are gone. I don't know what this room was. Not sure what this was, but I see they upgraded it. This was definitely not there when this was built originally. Oh, here you have the stair.
Each time the plastic.
Huh?
I mean the plastic.
Yeah, they should have made it in a better way. I was also surprised now to see it, yeah. But they did all this a few years ago, so maybe they need power here. As there's no hole here, I'm not sure if this was actually a toilet or a guard tower. But if it was a guard tower, I would say a bit claustrophobic standing in here, at least for a long time. And the person shouldn't be too tall. So now I think we can go to the armory to see the Uskok uniforms and weapons and other things. Wow. I guess this was how a Uskok soldier would look like.
Every time we go to the castle, he does this. And now closer.
Oi, now he's ready for battle.
Okay, we can go. Yeah, good. Okay.
Amazing. Wow. So guns were 17th, 18th century. Wow. Ja, der så se her, the Uskok or guerrilla fighters. Var det så 7 kilo? Så svært, så oj. So the guy just told me the uniform, the armory was 27 kilo. Imagine going around, with 27 kilo on it. Wow. Samo malo. Ja. Ja sam danac, ali sivo Split. Da.
Nisu lokalci koji
So let's continue up.
Like from the American movie,
The highest point inside the fortress is, I think, 385 meters above sea level. So it seems you can just continue up everywhere. I'm not sure what's up here. Maybe just a lookout position. Yeah, seems like it. So there was soldier quarters for the soldiers up here. But look here, you can really see the fortress. They must really have been in good shape, all the soldiers that time, with all the stairs and these kind of things getting around here. Should we go in here? I think we should take this way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was the main administrative building and basically the residency of the ruler who was here, and this is called the Tower of Peter Knosich, which was famous here for his battles against the Ottomans, where him and his Uskok army, they basically managed to defend the fortress against the Ottoman army trying to conquer it for more than 20 years. But unfortunately at the end he was captured and killed. I think we're gonna head up here. There's another lookout. Wow. I guess this is almost the highest point. It seems the roof of the church is a bit higher. So if you were the ruler of Clis Fortress or a Croatian king living here or whoever was in charge here, I mean, you really could have a good view here on all the areas you control from up here. Just a bit of funny thing, look at the shape of the roof. Thinking that they just renovated it, but probably the underlying structures or something like that. There's a reason why they did it like this. Hopefully it's stable enough. So it seems like they also use this for concerts now. There's not really anything down here except a big meeting room. I guess that's something new. I don't assume that the former rulers would have a meeting room like that. So who knows what the quarters were for. Please? You need to look out there. And of course down here there is real toilets, so you don't have to use the one I showed you outside. So now we're going up to the church of Saint Vitus. You just need the other people or the group to come out. So now I think we can get in there. So the interesting part about this church is that back in the days when the Croats was first here and became Christian, there was a small chapel here. And when the Ottomans took over this Clis Fortress, they turned this into a mosque. And when the Venetian came back, they turned it into a church, which is the church it is today, the Church of St. Vinius. But the Ottoman mosque basically was not changed, but that's also why the roof looks like it does. So it's one of three mosques remaining in Croatia from the Ottoman time period. You see the round shape? So now we're heading up to the eastern corner of the fortress. And this part has not been renovated, as you can see. And as I told you, when we saw the powder magazine down there, it was called the old powder magazine, and here's basically the new one. So again, not a good place to smoke that time. And you have, there's still archaeological works going on here with documenting various things. The end. So when you go here, so you can now from here you really get a good feeling why the position of the fortress was amazing. You have the cliffs here closing off for any intruders. You have the cliffs down here. So basically people had to go down and pass by where the fortress was, which was why it was an amazing strategical position to hold if you wanted to keep people away from Split, Salona and the Cleese Plains here. This was really the most important structure. I wonder how many people, was killed when they were trying to conquer the fortress. I mean, coming up some of these cliffs down here must more or less have been a definite death sentence. Wow. Look at the wall down there. You see from the toilet down on the wall. It's a bit different color. So I guess it was in use. I'm not sure how recent. But man, the view here. Well, I said it a few times, but I really mean it. It's amazing. So now we will go down to the lower parts, the parts we skipped on the way up here. Here, I will show you.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh.
Det lever du.
Oh, thank you so much.
You have a stair right here.
Ja.
Just follow this one up, you get to the top. So now we are down at the lower levels of the fortress, the part we skipped at the beginning because there was a few groups blocking the way. So now we will just have a look at that part. So the building we skipped is actually an armory or artillery barracks where you used to have soldiers living, and you also used to have there used to be some doctor stuff here. And this was also a period here in the 20th century. This was a restaurant. And now it's kind of a museum inside. So we can just go and have a small peek. So today there's an art exhibition with some paintings upstairs. But last time I went here, this was actually filled with artifacts from Game of Thrones. I'm not sure where they put them, but apparently they're not here anymore. So now we managed to get down to the first entrance to the fortress. And from here on we are going to continue our trip, as I mentioned when we entered here. We also have a ticket for the Olive Museum, which is located a few kilometers from here. So now we're going to travel over there. So see you when we get to the Olive Museum. Maybe a thing to say, if you plan to use the ticket for the Olive Oil Museum and you came here to Cleese Fortress with the bike, you should be a bit careful when you continue, because you would actually have to go out on the main road between Split, the main old road which we also took up here. You need to go on that one to get to the Olive Oil Museum, and there's no pedestrian area, there's also no area for bikes, and there's lots of cars, so you have to be very careful. The better is if you need to see it, that you come here by car and go over there. And you saw all the tours today. There's lots of tours who stops here, which you can basically board and split. There's lots of arranged tours for smaller, bigger groups. You can have private tours up here. Some of the tours is part of a Game of Thrones tour, where you would go and see the various places in Croatia, which is part of Game of Thrones, because it was not only Split and Fortress Knies, which was a part. There was of course King's Landing in Dubrovnik. There was 4 or 5 other places which they also used for filming Game of Thrones. Anyway, let's head to the Olive Oil Museum. So bye-bye Klis Fortress. Next up, Olive Oil Museum. Oops.
Okay.
There's a Corvette invasion, I guess. Wow. A lot of them. So here in front of us you have the sign, 700 meters for the Olive Oil Museum. And as I mentioned, now this part is here where walking is not all too great, because as you can see on the road, there's no pedestrian area. So if you choose to walk, you really have to pay attention to the cars when you go here. So now we arrived at the Olive Oil Museum, and in here we are going to follow a guided tour. So we actually have a guide who's going to speak. So let's go in and have a look at it. And as you can see here, the place is called Stella Croatica. And as I showed you at Klis Fortress, when you buy the ticket, you also get a ticket for this place. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Here's the tickets.
Yes. These are the walks. You can visit us again until 10th of October. So
With this one.
With this one, of course.
Fantastic.
No camera, please, through the production.
Yes,
Away, it's okay.
we are where?
Where are you from?
We are from Split.
From Split. Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yes.
Nice. You just go there to that stone house. and
Okay,
there's a group.
we will do that. Thank you. Here's the group we need to catch.
That's why we are diluting it in really small amounts. It's a different type of skincare product just to make it safe for later use, and actually only allowed amount that we can use of pure Immortelle essential oil is just 2%. Okay, so please follow me this way.
One question.
Yes.
How do you pick the Immortella? You know, if you need that much, if you need 750 kilos,
Yeah.
is it simply by hand going around, or is it?
Everything is made by hand, and we have large plates.
Wow, but that's a lot. That's a lot.
It's really hard work.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
Pieces of plants, and they're separated, as you can see, into different islands. For example, on this first island right here, we are growing all the poisonous plants that are specific for this part of Dalmatia. So if you thought that these berries are looking delicious, they're not that delicious actually. Here on this part we are growing all the vegetables and herbs that we later use in our tavern up in the village. And on this island right here, the rockery one, we are growing a couple of endemic plants. They are both rare and endangered, and for them we needed to get a certificate from government to actually allow us to have them in our private collection. And then later we got all the seeds from the botanical garden in Zagreb. And he will get large amounts of the olive oil, but quality will be significantly lower because with time and with the stages of maturation, all the healthy things are once again being lost from inside the olives.
So all of this is something you produce?
Mostly.
Mostly.
5% of everything. We are buying, for example, these wines from local producers.
Okay.
You will just see a couple of things. I'm not even sure where they are right now.
And you produce it here?
We are producing half on island of Net and half.
A half here, okay.
Yeah. Here we are producing all of our natural food supplements, skincare products, and most of these, actually all of the sweets. Just olive oils are produced on island.
On me, yeah, okay. Impressive.
So,
Here you have alcohols, Slivovic, Medica,
they will have the
Rogac,
what variety of milk and what
Smokva,
soy
and
is,
this one I don't know. Mirta, yeah, and
Probably some kind of
yeah, I'm not sure which that one is. But I tried the olive oil, you can definitely taste it. Yeah, excellent one. I have another question. So you actually have beehives around, also here, what?
No,
No.
we are actually buying honey from local producers, but we are buying plain floral
Plain,
honey.
okay, yeah.
And then we are making this.
This into a paste with different flavors. Okay, yeah.
Yes, we actually.
Very interesting. But you get the strong ginger at the end. Well, definitely gonna bring this one of these home. So now that we had a tour inside the buildings, inside the olive oil museum, where we basically were explained how olive oil was produced back in the days and how it looks now in modern times. And Stella Croatica here is actually producing their own olive oil. And they have all the trees down on the island Millet, which is a national park down in the southern part of Croatia. And we went into the shopping area where basically they produce, they have all the products they make, which is hand creams, face creams, they have sweets produced, they have jams, they had, of course, all different types of olive oil, not only a traditional virgin olive oil, super top quality, but also olive oils with various tastes, with lemon, with garlic, with truffles, and I think there was an orange one also. And then they had something which was very interesting, which I didn't saw before, and that's why I'm actually holding the bag. I had to buy it. They had honey mixed with various plants. So they, for instance, had a honey which was mixed with ginger. They had a honey mixed with cinnamon, a honey mixed with kiwi and another lemon, I think it was. And they had a honey mixed with strawberry. So I had to buy this with strawberry. I tasted all of them, very interesting and really good. And I never saw something like that. And the guide was so nice to explain me the process, which is quite complicated to make this paste. They take, of course, locally produced honey, and they mix it with these taste or other fruits. So for instance, and these fruits has to go through a process where they are frozen and eventually turned into powder. So it takes quite a long time to do it. And most of all the stuff they are selling here, except I think she said, except for the wine, which they get from a local producer, all the other products here they produce. So of course the olive oil is produced directly down on Millet where they have the trees, but the rest of the products is actually made here. So very interesting. This was the piece of the part of the garden I wanted to see, because here they're growing food. parsley, different kind of peppers, chili. Wow, look at the chili. Purple chili. I've never seen that. Wonder if they're good. That color. So this basically concludes our visit to the Olive Oil Museum, Stella Croatica. Definitely it was interesting to see all the plants, learn how they produce the olive oil, how it was produced in the history, how they produce it today. So when you're anyway visiting the Cleese Fortress, you should definitely take your time and go and visit here. It doesn't take a long time. So that's basically it. Till the next video, hope you enjoyed this one, and we look forward to seeing us. Please subscribe, if you want to see more videos from Croatia and the neighboring area. Thank you very much.